Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So continuing on with our video series, let's just take a look at our journey so far. So we began with studying letters, looking at each of the individual letters and particular terminology associated to them. Then we strung letters together to create words, and we said that there's three types of words. There's the ism, there's the fa'il, and there's the harf. We further broke down ism to look at the four types of properties associated to it, which was gender, number, status, and definiteness. Then we said that you could create incomplete sentences with words, such as the prepositional fragment, which is like fi kitabin, in a book. Then there was the descriptive fragment, there was the association fragment, and finally there was the pointing fragment. Now we're going to be moving on to our final section, which is actually sentences. So al-kitabu jadidun would be the book is new, right? And that's what we're going to be studying for the next couple of weeks, inshallah. So there are two types of sentences in Arabic, right? So you have the nominal, which is known as the ismiya, and that's essentially a sentence that begins with a noun, and it's made up of two parts. There is the subject, which is the thing that you're focusing on. Then there's the predicate, which is some type of information about it. The second is a fi'liya, which is a verbal sentence, so a sentence that begins with a verb, and this is made up of most of the time three parts. So there's the verb, then there's the doer, then there's the receiver of the verb. And we'll be looking into that more next week, but for this week we'll be focusing on the nominal. So this is an example of a nominal sentence in English. So the book is new. First we have the subject, which is the book. It's the thing that we're focusing on. I want to tell you something about the book. Now the information that we're giving, or the predicate, some type of information about the subject, is that it's new. And between them we have a linking word, which is. So the linking word brings together the subject, and it reveals some type of information about it through the predicate. It's important to note that is not the only word that's used for that. Rather, are can be used too if you're dealing with something that's plural. So in this case, the subject is plural. The trees. We wouldn't say the trees is beautiful. We would say the trees are beautiful, right? And our predicate in this case is telling us that they're beautiful, and the linking word is are. So what does this look like in Arabic? Well, first off, in Arabic, your subject is going to be called your mubtada, and your predicate is going to be called your khabar, right? And the way that you tell if you have a mubtada khabar setup is by a couple of signs. So first off, they have to match in gender, and we can tell these two match in gender because they both have a ta marbuta on the end, which is one of our 8 signs of femininity. Secondly, they have to match in number. Since there's no ani, aini, una, ina, atun, or atin ending, we know they're both singular. Third, they both have to be rafa. So the subject in this case has a dhamma on the end, and the predicate in this case has a double dhamma on the end. So we know both are rafa. But what's the differentiating factor? What makes it completely different from, let's say, a descriptive fragment, which right now, so far, like in a descriptive fragment, it matches in gender, matches in number, both could be rafa, right? The thing that makes it different is that they're not going to match in their definiteness, right? So when it comes to definiteness, the subject will be specific and the predicate will be non-specific. And when I see that, and all 4 of these things have been checked, I know I can drop an is or an are in between. So the car is new. So let's take a look at another example. Ash-shajaratani jamilatani, right? So the 2 trees are beautiful. How do I know to drop are in between? That this is a sentence. Well, they both match in gender. I see the dani and the tani, so I know that they're feminine. I see the ani and the ani, so I know that they're both dual, so they're matching in number. I see that they're both rafa because it's an ani and an ani ending. And finally, I see that the subject, the one that comes first, is specific because it has alif lam, and I see that the predicate is non-specific because it doesn't have alif lam. So I know that I have to drop an are in between because we have a subject which is dealing with more than one thing. So the trees are beautiful. So let's take a look at a relatively more simple example. So al-kitabu qadimun, when it comes to the subject, which once again in Arabic is known as the mubtada, and then we have our khabar here, which is the predicate. They both match in gender, so there are no signs of femininity. None of the 8 signs of femininity are present here between both of them. Furthermore, they both match in number. We have no signs of duality, so ani or aini, no signs of plurality, so una, ina, atun or atin. None of that, so they're both singular. They're both rafa, right? So they're both matching in being in the state of rafa. And then finally, we have the subject, which is specific, so it has alif lam, and then we have the predicate, which is non-specific. So we know we're dealing with a mubtada and a khabar setup, so this is a nominal sentence. We're going to have to drop an is in between them. So the book is old. So one last quick point to note is that both the mubtada and the khabar can actually have fragments inserted into them. So in this example here, the mubtada itself is actually a fragment. So Imamul Masjidi, so the Imam of the Masjid, alimun, is a scholar, right? So in this case, Imamul Masjidi altogether, the entire fragment will serve as your mubtada, and then you'll have the khabar coming right after it. So that's just a small thing to keep in mind. It's really important to note that the fragment can come in for both the subject or the predicate. So you can see them popping in and out. So it's just a small thing to note. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll be covering verbal sentences next week and going into more detail with that, and then overall just doing a little bit of a recap of both and showing examples of both of them, inshallah. Alright, assalamu alaikum.